Okay. Welcome, everyone. My name is Jana Johnson of the Tree Yoga Cooperative, and this is the last day of Black Liberation Week. Before we get into the conversation, I want us to get started by taking 3 mindful breaths. So wherever you are, just find yourself in a comfortable position, relax the shoulders down, maybe even close your eyes. And as you're ready, take a deep inhale in through the nose and open the mouth, exhale. And we'll take 2 more breaths just like that. Inhale through the nose and exhale out the mouth. And 1 more, inhale in and exhale out. All right. Thank you for sharing that moment of mindfulness with me. Again, we are here for Black Liberation Week. And today we are honoring the legacy of Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street is it was a prominent district in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the Greenwood district. And this was one of America's largest areas of Black economic success and entrepreneurship. And some of the pieces that we really want to highlight today as we honor this legacy is the entrepreneurial spirit, as well as the community connection. And lastly, we want to highlight the self-worth and the self-value that the people, the business owners, the families of Black Wall Street and Greenwood really laid the blueprint for and showed and exemplified. So today marks 100 years since there was this massacre that destroyed all of Black Wall Street, many businesses, homes, families. And so today we want to really highlight the legacy that was left from the people that lived there, right? And also, being that our studio is centraled in South Central Los Angeles, we acknowledge as well that this city has a history of race, violence, riots, and all of that has destroyed areas of Black family and Black businesses. And so we come together today with Tulsa and Los Angeles and acknowledging worldwide the impact of Black economic success and getting a sense of that same entrepreneurial spirit that Black Wall Street really laid the blueprint for. I'm excited to have our 2 panelists today. We have from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Hassan Burdex. He is the owner of the Greenwood Cure Company, and that is a cannabis dispensary right in the middle of North Tulsa, really right there as well in the Greenwood area. And so it's a pleasure to have you. And then we also have Wose Afi Shobaka of Baba's Vegan Cafe, and that is based here in Los Angeles. And so he is really paving the way for plant food, vegan food, and making it accessible to Black and Brown people. This panel is entitled Still We Rise, and that's simply to acknowledge how the Black spirit really, especially in America, but we can see it globally, continues to exemplify perseverance, what it means to overcome, what it means to continue to rise and excel and allow our visions and what's within us to be expressed. And Still We Rise is also a nod to Maya Angelou and her poem, Still I Rise, because we can also see that there's this similar spirit of creativity that exists whenever we create something new, whether that's a business, whether that's a poem, whether that's a song, any type of expression of art, we get to tap into that creative energy within us. And so I'm excited to get to hear some insight from these 2 young men who have experience and their own expertise to share about their journey of entrepreneurship and owning their own business and what that means and looks like to serve their community and be representative of the communities that they serve. And then also just whatever other inspirations and insights that we get to as, again, we acknowledge this legacy of Black Wall Street. It's also going to be open for those who are here with us on Zoom or maybe watching live on YouTube or Facebook. If you want to type some questions in the chat, you are welcome to do that. And we have people watching who will share the questions. So let's get into the conversation. All right. We're going to start. I would love to start with Hassan. Please let us know more about what your business is and how did you know that this is the business that you wanted to invest your time and energy in?
I have a cannabis dispensary in Oklahoma, and I knew I wanted to do it once they legalized it in Oklahoma because I had been dealing with cannabis previously when it wasn't legal. And then at a point I quit dealing with it illegally. I started doing research, going to different states where it was legal, learning about product, growing, the business of cannabis and different things like that. And I just figured it was time to go for it. I went for it.
I think it. Thank you. What about you, Wose? Can you tell us a little bit more about your business and how you knew that that was the business that you wanted to invest your time into?
All right, I'll try and make it quick. Let me know if I get long-winded. So let me see. I guess I knew what I wanted to do after, working for people for so many years, and I guess what they call the dead end job, or this ceiling. Oh, what do I do? Well, it's Wose Kofi, a Bob's Vegan Cafe. I run a vegan catering pop-up delivery business, all vegan food, inspired by the fact that everybody needs to eat healthier. Mm-hmm. Growing up in South LA, South Central, there was always a lack of healthy, affordable food, usually fast food and liquor stores. I'm sure you heard the spill that it's a food desert. Right. And clearly it is. And so me growing up in that, I just saw that it was a need. At first, I didn't understand it because I was just getting jobs like everybody else. But I realized that wasn't making a change for anybody. It was like I was just working for somebody, that my homeboys working for somebody, but we're still relying on the government to feed us mentally, telling us what we're going to eat by putting it on every corner. And so just me growing up vegetarian, I always had to make the adjustment to every meal. Like, I'll go here with you, but I'll just eat French fries or, and just having to accommodate myself at every turn. And so I feel like, for people who are growing up younger than me, for the next generation, they're going to need some outlets. And fortunately, veganism is on the rise, and here I am, trying to ride the wave that I helped create.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think it. Yeah, there's so many intersections here because you talk about like the food desert. And so I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so that's my real connection here. And I'm just like, yeah, same thing. It's like you can see this in so many places throughout the country, throughout the world. And especially in America where you see how things are purposely placed. Yeah. And then, of course, what that creates. So I wanted to talk about the piece you said, both of you. So Hassan, you talked about ultimately you started to educate your own self. You saw that your own interest and curiosity in this and doing it now legally was something that inspired you to like learn more. So I wanted to ask, like, at what point was it like a moment, something that happened where you knew that the vision you had for yourself is something that you could actually create and do?
Yes and no. Truthfully, I just knew I knew how to sell cannabis, grow it, and I knew it was good for people. I knew it was beneficial. It would be able to rebuild the community. I could take an old rundown building and fix it up and turn it into a store and actually have business and create tax revenues, generate revenues from this area.
Yeah.
Which has not been much going on in this area for a while. So it was just a vision of like rebuilding things, growing up on Greenwood, remembering how it used to be when I was a kid, where it was a few other old buildings, but then when I was younger and stuff, and how commerce always was through here. The stories I heard from my relatives, my grandmother and stuff, just knowing that I could be a part of that was exciting and became part of a vision, you know?
Yeah, for sure. So I know too, we'll say you all have some news about, and learning now too about your own space. I see that you have a public campaign right now to help support you all to get into the space and whatever other endeavors you have. But how important is it for you as well that the space that you're choosing to enter into, the brick and mortar, is, you know, in the same community?
It's actually quite interesting and revealing that, you know, everything takes time, you know.
Yeah.
A healing is a journey. And so our community needs healing, and it takes time for us to get broken down or break down, and it takes time to build back up. And so for me, the space that we just acquired is on 67th and Western. I grew up on 67th and Crenshaw, you know, and so just the correlation of the numbers and how it adds up, and I'm like, you know what, I'm supposed to bring this to the community. And it's in a brick old Mason building, you know, it's foundation, you know, that's how I look at it. And the transition, I feel like my community is right behind me because they've seen my growth. They all are in support, knowing that somebody has to bring it. And, you know, and if it's going to be me, they're willing to come out. Everybody's giving me a big high five. I put out the campaign also because I've been getting more donations, and GoFundMe said if you tag something about COVID, if you reach 500, they'll match it. And so I was like, you know what? I haven't been really campaigning as much. I've just been going out and doing my pop-ups. Yeah. But I was like, you know, let me get back into campaigning as well, because a lot of people want to support in different ways.
Yeah. So I wanted to add similar to that, and both of you can answer this question, but what's the importance to you of being representative of the community that you serve? And knowing that the people who come to your place of business know that there's also the owner of this place looks like them and is from the same area. Does that mean anything to you? What is that?
I guess I'll go first since I got a lot of stuff fresh on my mind. I was going to say it's something about this kind of hits to the point, but I'm going to go a little bit around back to it. So it's something about when people come to the booth, like I'm trying to figure out what is my favorite part of the situation. And, you know, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of dedication. But me growing up with friends and us having commonalities, but growing up and having to kind of split and do different things and not having this oneness that we can all like come back to, you know, it's like, you know, everybody's doing something different. So at the booth, it's like there's this oneness that everybody knows, like, all right, I'm about to eat healthy today. So I'm about to go see Baba and go eat. And at that part, I get everybody in that moment of trying to do their best self. And so, and I feel like that's really important, you know, to see people aspire, because, you know, I've always tried to inspire, you know, because it's important. Yeah. You know, for people to do their best selves. So it is important for people to come in and look like me, for young people, for mothers and people to bring their children, because I know that I'm being effective in changing the future generation.
Yeah. I love it. Hassan?
I'm able to be here every day to inspire people too as well, like to show people that we can do it, that is still here in the community. That's probably my favorite part of this, just being able to help people when they come in and not feeling well. They have an alternative to be able to feel well, you know, and just to actually see what's going on in the community, just to be here every day consistently and watch the growth happen.
Absolutely. I want to input here. One of my partners with the tree wanted me to also chime in about just some of these things around entrepreneurship. And I know for me, being with the tree in our yoga studio, when we did have our physical location, it was right in the middle of an area that was represented by Black people and Spanish speaking people, right? Black and brown folks. And so it's so important and so, I think, necessary that our leadership team represents that, right? And so we have 4 owners, 2 that are Black and 2 that identify as Mexican immigrant and Chicana, right? And so we have the representation of also the people that are around us. And I think that when people, just like you said, when people come into the space with you, or Hassan, when people come into your shop and they can see themselves in a sense, it's like, that's the connection and that's the community creation, if you will, one by one or group by group or plate by plate, cell by cell, whatever it is. But being able to connect and see ourselves, I think absolutely promotes and helps us to feel our own empowerment to be able to do the same things or similar things, right? So I wanted to shift a bit to ask about operating a business and some of the realities of that. So I know I just had a conversation with Hassan about, employees, and even we'll say, I know there's a lot going on with the Lamarck Park Village and the politics of that sometimes that can be present. And so I want to ask you all just some insight that you'd like to share about what it takes as a business owner to know that you have to work with other people and how to navigate those relationships with other people, whether it be employees that you're hiring, whether it be like in my case, we have 4 co-owners, so it's my direct peers, or whether it be other organizers or other vendors that you kind of work with. I'd love to hear and have you all share some insight about working with people and the politics of being a business owner.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll go right in just in case. You know what? This is interesting to me because every time I'm in some type of consultation meeting or with somebody, I ask them what were their challenges or what were their greatest losses or in doing business. And a lot of times it's like, are you doing it by yourself or are you doing it with a group? And I believe, honestly, it's about just believing in yourself and staying focused, because everybody is going to give you an input. And unless they're actually on your team as in one of the 4, there is always just going to be an input. And so you really have to go off of your gut decision because everybody's lane is going to be different. So the way when they choose to give you advice is from their lane and how they would do it. And so you have to take that in perspective and my personality is a little different. So maybe I'm gonna go about it like this, or my goal is a little different. So I'm gonna go about it like this. So I haven't been fortunate to have many partners for some reason, because the food business and really fighting for this food freedom and fight, that's one of the hardest fights, to really go into business for yourself and to not work for somebody and to do that for years after years after years and build up and take the losses that comes with that.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't ready to do that. So, they'll give you these advices that come from people who, aren't really ready to take the loss. And so you have to, so right now, my biggest partner has been Lauren. For those of you who don't know, that is my lady, my partner, the mother of my children. And she is my right-hand go-to. We work together collaboratively raising the children and doing the business. Because we are similar minded, we both believe in a healthier community and a healthier lifestyle for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Peace to Lauren. She taught our comedic yoga this week, and she's part of the Tree Fam for forever.
That's right. As far as employees, it's hard. They come and go, so, just treat them right, and vet them when they come in.
Yeah. What you got, Hassan? What's your insight?
Well, like you said, we had the conversation, but it's interesting. You work with a lot of different people, and everybody has different personalities and ideas, right? And different values, the ideas of the value of the business and themselves and their time and all this. So you got all these different equations you got to calculate, and all these personalities you got to try to mesh it to a team. And it's interesting, but it's worthwhile because at the end of the day, we all we got. So, but it is a rotation of dealing with people. I mean, even with patients, it's just everybody is different, and everybody requires something different. And I think that's probably the most inspiring part for me, really, just getting to work with different people and getting different points of view about things, and like how 20 people can love something and then 2 people can just hate this same thing, right? And it can be okay, understanding how to take the negatives with the positive and not feeding off of the negatives, you know what I mean? Rather feed off the positive and try to fix the negatives and turn them into more positive. So that's probably the best part of it, and having the cure, because people come in with, we all got our issues and problems. Sometimes we just need something simple that can just change everything, So we get to do that often, we do that often. So it's real cool, cool thing.
Yeah, and so with that, acknowledging that it is sometimes can feel like this daily grind, if you will, or just a daily focus, something that can consume much of your life, your energy, your mental space, all of that. So how do you all keep your momentum up? How do you sustain yourselves in a way that can keep you still present and, focused forward and focused toward whatever it is that you're focused toward? But how do you sustain your own well-being, especially knowing that it's kind of this long game?
I'll start first on this one.
You got it.
So drink a lot of water, right? Get sufficient rest, right? Don't argue with anyone, and don't take no shit, you know what I mean? That's not it.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. Don't argue with nobody. That one caught me.
try some cannabis, Sometimes if something don't feel right, eat a gummy, a piece of a gummy, take a togo pre-roll. Yeah. Think about it, breathe. Like you say, inhale, exhale a few times. Go for it. So,
just taking that pause.
Okay, this may be off topic for the tree, but I did hear that microdosing mushrooms sometimes help with the anxiety or just like that pressure.
Yeah.
I would say how I keep going. Yeah, the water, the sleep. Like no matter what happens, I know. Like, all right, well, at least I know I got to get this much sleep because I got a lot to do. Yeah. And sometimes it can get a little overwhelming. But I guess, besides the basic things that you do to kind of, you would say sometimes you will meditate, try and get into yourself. One thing that's like a real drive force is that, okay, this is kind of related. What they say is that once an entrepreneur, when they get into business, how you know you're going to really get into this business and thrive is because you're in a bit, you see somebody doing something that you can do better. And you know you can do better. So that's your job. You know. And so for me, I just been fortunate enough to have this vision for so long. And as I see people hop on, they hop right off. And so then I invite people in, you know, the idea of where we're trying to go. And it's only a little bit. So, you know, after a while, you know, the journey isn't for everybody, you know? And so so my inspiration is just knowing, like, you know, I believe that this is my journey, you know, because not all my homeboys are able to do what I do. And then they look up to me for following my steps and knowing who I am and doing what I'm doing. They're looking up to me. They're hitting me up years down the line. Like, I knew it. I knew you were on something. Whoa. I used to go by Whoa Gutta, like in Inglewood. Yeah. So they like, dang, whoa, you were always that dude. And like 10 years later, and it's like, yo, I need a meal plan. You know what I mean? Like, it really works out like that. And so, absolutely. You know, I know that's that inspiration. Like, okay, I know I'm in the right. I know I'm doing the right thing. So let's keep going.
Yeah, I love that. That inner knowing, that gut feeling that you talked about earlier, just your own intuition, I think is critical to be in any type of leadership thing, because it means by definition that you can't follow what everybody else is doing. So it's like being able to trust your own gut, trust your own intuition and all of that. Okay, so I want to ask about money. As a business owner, I can say for myself, one thing I try to bring mindfulness into all of my relationships. And I think that I definitely have a relationship with money, just like I have a relationship with food or relationship with other things in that nature. And so in thinking about money as this other currency or just another energy, just like another way to exchange. That's something that I've kind of grown into in terms of how I think about money, especially when I'm in this situation now as owning a business where money is kind of the blood that keeps a business going, if you will, in a sense, along with the people, but it's that exchange. So I'm curious to hear from you all, when you got into this, and especially even bringing it present into now, your relationship with money as a business owner, and also how you decide how you exchange this currency. How do you use money in your business in a way that also is part of its sustainability?
Okay. I could go first. So it's interesting. I got like two different ways to look at that. Yeah. So I used to be, I guess you could say, like Hassan with the herb before it was legal, you know, and dealing with lots of money and just trying to figure out what to do. And like that money would circulate and really go nowhere. Yeah. You know, and nothing really would get better. And so doing business, how I'm doing business now, and the way I think about circulating money is a lot different. And whose pocket it goes in, you know, and something about that circulation is just something. Oh, I kind of lost my train of thought. But so basically, it's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like now that I think about money, I'm like, all right, my business, the inspiration I have for my business and the pride that I have, it's like, okay, now I want to equate it with, you know, making some type of potluck, you know, making sure I have something so that I have something to show for because I'm doing good work, you know, and then using that money to be able to funnel good work, hire people, you know, it's, yeah, I guess the circulation of it is just, my thinking of it is different now that I'm a business owner who really is for the community.
Right.
I guess I look at money like it's more of a vehicle now with the business. dealing with business. It used to be where I just couldn't really hardly spend no money on nothing. But now with the business, it's like at times I gotta use the money like a vehicle. You know, sometimes I gotta get in the Volkswagen. You know what I'm saying? And I gotta be kind of frugal with things and spend in small amounts. And then sometimes I gotta hop in the Lambo. You know, and spend a nice chunk. But it's all about how the money will come back mostly when I spend it. You know, like, am I spending it? Is how much of it's gonna come back? Is it saving me money as I spend it? Is it how much is it? Is this dollar gonna make me $2, or is it gonna save me $2 when I spend this dollar? Will this dollar save me time? You know, 4 hours maybe. You know, it's a lot of things that you have to calculate when you get into business because time is really money. And whatever your shift, you got, let's say 8 hours, like a job. You got 8 hours and you got to serve so many people in these 8 hours. And you got to do a good job and you got to give them a good value for what they spending their dollars on. So that way they keep coming to you. So your dollars, I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
it's a lot, you know, but at the end of the day, it's just finding the balance with the money. You know, sometimes you got to spend a lot, sometimes you got to spend a little bit, you know. That became my thing with the business versus when I wasn't in the business.
I dig that. I love that, just the circulation of it, as well as kind of having it work for you, like you were saying, Hassan, and having that discernment. I think that goes back to what we were saying about intuition and trusting yourself, and kind of having that vision for yourself of like, what's the purpose here? I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about inspiration, and start with, you know, things that inspire you all, and then lead into how you all might inspire other people as continue to do that. One thing I wanted to ask is, when it comes to inspiration, I think, again, we sometimes we gravitate to the people that we either see something about them that reminds them of ourselves, or like we see ourselves in them in some way. Was there someone specific? Was there a specific experience that really inspired you to do what you're doing right now? Or is there a particular source of inspiration that you have right now that you currently find inspiring for yourself?
I could say two things. One would be, actually I have on the wall here. Dr. Gary Davis. He graduated from Booker T. Washington, my high school that I graduated from, and he was a doctor. Of course, his office is on Greenwood, and when I was a kid, my grandmother took me down there, and it was always, his clinic was full of people. If you didn't have no insurance or whatever, he was gonna see you. Yeah. And so eventually he came up with a cure for HIV, which was a goat serum, and which I don't want to elaborate, but you can always Google Dr. Gary Davis, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and his information on him online. His son was a classmate of mine, Sean Davis, who went to Booker T with me. But anyway, he inspired me, just being a kid, seeing him in the community, helping people, coming with that cure and giving the cure to some people and actually seeing it work. You know, that was inspired. That's where the Greenwood Cure Company name came from. And then my other inspiration here was Oaksterdam University, which I attended at one time, and they were one of the first. Oakland was one of the first places that cannabis was actually legalized, and they have a school there, and you can go there and learn about basic growing, about laws in cannabis, about business, about anything that you're interested in, want to know, learn that, there. And they're dedicated to teaching that. They've been doing it for a while now. So those two things inspired me, and that's what kind of got me here. If I could blame it on somebody, I'll blame it on them.
There you go.
And my mama. No.
Of course, always mama.
And my mama. Shout out to my mama.
Shout out to Amy Francis.
Yo, Amy. No.
All right, Rose.
All right.
Where do you draw your inspiration?
All right, my inspiration. Let's see. I believe my inspiration comes from the term I'm using is broad, but it's life. You know, so there's two different sides of life. You know, you got the good and the bad. You know, so I do feel like there's a complete balance of how I see it, where it comes from inspiration. Growing up, I'm inspired by seeing people doing the wrong things, you know, because, but not unless you're aware of what they're doing is wrong. But when you're aware, you really learn when you're watching people.
Yeah.
You know, and the decisions every day, even with your homeboys growing up, when you have an awareness in the decisions that y'all are making day to day, you know, you start to learn and be like, okay, so these decisions I can make, you can go this way, or I can make these decisions and go this way. And so that was inspired. That's like my inspiration, you know, just seeing people grow up to be this way as opposed to growing up and being this way. And I'm like, this is so interesting. All you gotta do is really make a couple of decisions in your life, you know, and keep on a path, and you can be like this, or you can be like that. I feel like that's inspiring because anybody can do that, you know, from a baby to an older person. Growing up, I guess, so that will be my kids. You know, I see them growing up and them being the next ones in line to make decisions, you know, so that's inspiration for me to create a scenario where they're able to make, you know, proper decisions, or see somebody making a proper decision and be able to follow. And then growing up, from that balance of seeing the homies on the block, I had inspirations like Mr. Wisdoms, who would be a solo entrepreneur, like a family business, a brother who came from, well, Jamaica, but he's from, he went to Britain to fight in the army. So it's like a long story, but I worked for him for years. Just him by himself cooking, his brother, one other person kind of doing handiwork. And he was known from the whole community, and he always got support. And all he did was basically wheatgrass and like a veggie plate. And then I had Simply Wholesome. I saw them kind of grow and rise. A couple, you know, just a brother and his woman. And then also when I was growing up, my mom would always go to the Compton health food store. And so I knew nothing about Compton, but I knew that there was something in Compton that us as conscious people had to go there to get, you know what I mean? So just knowing that you can create something for people to want to gravitate towards. Yeah. It was inspiring, you know, because I'm sitting here with the homies on the block and trying to figure out, you know, just these day-to-day things, but there's these places where we can go to uplift our mind, eat good food, and, you know, make good decisions and meet like-minded people who want to make good conscious decisions. So I'm inspired by these places who create spaces, these people who create spaces. And yeah, that's my inspiration right there. The good and the bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And it makes me think and wonder for both of you, like, how do you think you came to a place to trust yourself, though, to go out on your inspirations and to go out and to do what you want to do? And I think I say this because it's like I talk to people, and there's so many people who like have ideas or have this like even vision inside of them, but they kind of get bogged down by the fear of the unknown, essentially, and just like, well, what if? And I think also sometimes people get very dependent upon whatever job or security that they do have, even though they know it may not be fulfilling or what have you. And so it's like, how do you come to trust yourself to be like, you know what, I don't know what's gonna happen really, but I do know this is what I'm gonna do.
be how I would. Do you believe in what you do? I think it boils down to that. You know, if you believe in what you do, you should do it. You know?
Yeah. Simple as that.
That's it. You know, if I ever question myself, which I do every day, probably, the second question I ask is, do you believe in what you're doing? You know, the answer is no, then I know I don't need to do it. You know? But believing in cannabis and believing in this community and believing in the opportunity for social change that's happening through cannabis in this community.
Mm-hmm.
We have people from different walks of life, different areas, different beliefs, backgrounds, races, different countries, right? This is the reason that we all connect. This is a common ground that America was never able to find through all the history and through all the ups and downs that we've been through as a country. And so this is the biggest step in social change I think that will ever happen. And if we don't embrace it, if we don't encourage it, we don't support it, this is another chance of a lifetime, you know. Hey, we've been wanting change, you know, change has happened. You know, we got a black president, got a crazy white president, you know. We don't know if he was really, but anyway, a lot of things have happened, but like this is bringing social change to Oklahoma. This is the reddest state, and we've got people who never would even speak to each other are doing business together now.
Yeah.
Their children are playing together and getting to know each other and getting to understand how to speak different languages and tasting different foods and you know, different things are just happening that it's never happened through. Even music would bring people together, but I think cannabis is stronger than music right now. It's like, I just don't know who you're gonna be, who's you gonna be hugging, you know, in this cannabis space. And so that opportunity there is just it's powerful for me to be a part of it. You know?
I would say repeat the question, but I kind of have an idea because you were saying like why, like
basically about trusting yourself to overcome when you do question yourself or those fears or doubts that might arise for people. It's like, well, so how do you overcome that?
I apologize. I probably just went so long.
No, you
trying not to do right.
You hit it on the mark though, because you said a simple question. You said a simple remark. You said it's just about believing in yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and at the end of the day,
well, believing in what you're doing, because sometimes believing in yourself might be a work in progress. You might need to power up to believe in yourself. But if I believe what I'm doing, right?
Yeah, you can learn yourself inside of that.
I believe if I believe, you know, I gotta knock this wall down. I better believe it at first and foremost that I could do it, and I should be doing it, right? And I know, like, I mean, you putting the vegan food out there. I'm hoping that we could do something and connect the dots from here to there because it's a shortage in vegan food there. I mean, it's here, but ain't nobody doing it like Jenna. If Jenna going to your place, right? You must be. That speaks some volumes.
I'm like the vegan reference.
Oh, she the real deal on vegan. She, you know, I eat her vegan food all week when I'm in LA.
That's right? Good to know.
I don't need no meat, so come on. So you know, believing in that vegan food, and that's changing people's lives because the less meat people eat, the clearer they can think. You know, cannabis is vegan food. You can take it back and juice it, and shit, get you some benefits from that plant, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's so many ways you know. So the vegan thing is really connected, so connected to this cannabis community. Shit,
Mm.
we believe in you. We believe in what you're doing. You understand what I'm
That's right.
saying?
But the question is, how do we get more people
Yeah.
to believe in themselves? You know, because
Right.
it's a few
They
of us,
gotta watch us do it. They gotta watch me say, "I believe in what you do, my brother."
and that's exactly where I'm going with that.
And I gotta say it every day or every other day, and I gotta share it and say, "Shit, this is the truth over here. If we didn't have this opportunity to go to this vegan place, but we had a bubble guts all week. But
There you
now
go.
now we can be clean and we can think clean, you know,
Oh, yeah.
because it's available to us. Because I ain't gonna lie, I sit here and starve sometimes because my options for my business is McDonald's,
Right.
Popeye's Chicken, Taco Bell, Sonic. It's a
Yeah.
tropical smoothie, so that's kind of something that they doing a little something over there, right? But
Hmm.
I mean, my options is I got to take a ride to go get some tzatziki's or some
Right.
chimeras at one of these places that I got some vegan options that are really truly, you know, some real deal that's good, you know. And so you believe in that, you know. If we keep believing in each other and show that it starts one at a time, but it grows just like a seed.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the
Plant
seed.
that seed.
I was looking right out here, my garden. It's like I have all this plant food, right? Kale, lettuce, peppers, and I have some cannabis plants growing, right? And it's like it's all together. And I think too, earlier this morning we had a meditation with Ruth King, and she said, we don't change the world by our opinions, but we change the world with our examples. And that speaks to exactly what you're saying. It's like you all, us, we all being these examples, that's what affects change for people to be able to, again, see themselves in another person. That's another, currency, if you will, or means of exchange of being able to see ourselves reflected in each other and know that we can be inspired by another person's life just by the example that they lead and that they live.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Okay. So I want to go to a couple of broad questions about our whole theme of the week, Black liberation. Okay. So one, what are your thoughts on the potential for Black economic success in America specifically? Like, where we are right now, right, on the shoulders of Black Wall Street, on the shoulders of many other entrepreneurs that are Black in this country. It's like, what do you all see looking forward for this spirit of Black Wall Street, if you will, Black economic success?
You want to go first, brother?
I've been talking so much, man. I need to. Let me catch
All right. Let me.
I want to give you the mic.
I feel like we see a lot of entrepreneurs and people coming up in this day and age.
Yeah.
I feel like that is important, but I also feel like we're coming up in, I don't know how far this will take it, but in a system, and so we're still in a system. So just because we get into the economics, just because we were kind of playing left field at first, we're getting back into the system of playing economics. And no matter how up you get into that, you're still going to give more economics that you put your energy, and our energy is our life source. Every day you put that into the money you make and you send that into a system. Yeah. And so it's kind of weird for me because my parents are like Rasta, so it's like, for me, it's like I'm just trying to create a legacy for my children. So on another scale, I'm thinking like how people are like, all right, well, we're in it, but not of it, or you know what I mean? Like, so we're in it, we still have to operate, but at a limited pace. You know, like I like money. So this is kind of back to your money talk. You know, how do we feel about money? Because I enjoy it as a means to circulate in the community. But as far as like mass production, like corporate takeover, you know, monopoly, you know what I mean? Like that is like there's two ways of thinking about negative and positive. And so it's like, where do you take it and what do you want to do with it? I guess that is to everybody's own discretion. But as I point out, why I point out towards veganism for everybody to make better decisions with just their food, because then they'll make better decisions in life. Yeah. Because once you think about everything you put in your body, you think about how natural that is and how that same cycle goes towards everything else. So you want to do things naturally. You don't want to do things that are harmful, chemicals, you know, you want to stay everything that's you know, God made, you know, from the earth, you know. Yeah. So it's interesting. A lot of people are on the money thing right now. Like, you know, the PPPs and everything is coming out and people are jumping on it and this and that. And I'm like, you know, that's good. But another thing is also I don't know, there's no price on your mental, you know, your capacity, you know, and what you can come up with, your ideas. And just having a business that the community can you can give and give and receive and reciprocation, you know, just that simplistic part of life is how I look at it. Yeah. So and that's a little.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I think he covered it pretty well.
Yes, all good. And I do want to say as well, it's like, so, and I'll ask about Black Liberation and what that means to you all. But as we celebrate this week, Black Liberation Week, and think about all the different ways that that might look like, as we say, and we know like there's no monolith experience. Everybody is going to experience that differently and have their own definition of that. But this, you know, today we are focusing on the economic piece and how that kind of plays a role in it. But absolutely, it's acknowledging that that's not like the end all be all, right? And that can only be a part of it. It can't be all of it. And so I think that is important to acknowledge, because there is this social infatuation with like boasting about all the money you can make or whatever, right? Same thing with cannabis. It's like, and that's been something too that has been a stigma, where it's like, how high can you get? And like, what's the like, how like lazy can I be and all this stuff? And it's like, that's like a different image than like the reality of, I think, absolutely what you all are putting out there. And what can actually be the benefits of, you know, being able to have a good financial flow for yourself or for your business, or the benefits of choosing to smoke or eat or drink cannabis or grow a plant or whatever it is, right? It's like, how can we shift the relationship with these things so that it's still intentional to serve our purpose and our vision? So speaking of that, I would love to hear from you all as we start to wrap up. Like, what do you all have as a vision for your business, yourselves, your community, looking forward, looking ahead? So personal to you, the vision for yourself, your business, your community. Hassan, you can get it started.
It's my turn, right? Like you said, this is Liberation Week, and I guess I've been yet to really just feel the liberation part of what's going on here with the Tulsa massacre and people coming to town, and they have different events and vendors out and all that. And I've been waiting for the longest for us to be able to actually rebuild, instead of not so much get over it, but let it fuel us to go on ahead and get back to those situations and those people that were creating commerce, you know, and to be able to be a part of, you know, other people who have ideas want to start businesses and want to be a part of businesses and get them in a direction where they can do it, you know. I guess that would be liberating. That would be liberating, you know.
Yeah.
More than, feels like more of some people are celebrating the massacre.
Right.
And
right.
And I'm wondering, like, so what we gonna do? Like, you know,
Right.
because history is wonderful and it's important. But, you know, got the future to deal with, you know. I've been waiting on the efforts to rebuild. Now, hopefully our people can get some unionization and connect and start to just like support each other and show each other, give each other direction, you know.
Yeah.
Even if it's just cause, you know what I mean?
I second that. Liberation. That's our discussion. So I started out vegan vendor, one of two, maybe sometimes only one, years ago in Leimert Park. And so Leimert Park is like the rebound of LA after the riots. You know, it's like after the riots, South LA was kind of like destroyed and it's still yet to rebuild itself with the businesses and even some of the structures. It's, you know, some of it's still closed down. Mm-hmm. Now it's just like little mom and pop stores, but not really like hit or miss. And so Leimert Park has really been that liberating force for a lot of people, such as myself. I feel like it's given me a chance to be an incubator for a lot of businesses, to be able to create themselves, put themselves on a market, and actually create income for themselves to sustain themselves. You know, and I feel like that's one of the most liberating things is to really step outside of the system, you know, and really regulate yourself, be on your own consistency, your own timing, and really give back to the community in your own way. And so that's, ever since I started my business, that's been the most liberating thing, not having to be able to, not have to clock in just for people to say, yo, thank you. You know what I mean? Like, like you don't have to clock in just for people to give you congratulations for doing good work. So, you know, that's liberating thing about just being in Leimert Park is also called Little Africa, you know, like a space where, you know, like kind of like how Tulsa, you know, where a lot of Black businesses, it's like the hub, you know. And so liberating for me is just continuing to circulate this money, to create money and put it back into the business so it can grow as a pillar in the society, in the community, to be inspirational to the younger generations to do the same, to create businesses and thrive for their own families and their own success, and to find their own liberation within themselves.
Yeah. Self-liberation. I think that going inward and having that trust for yourself, hearing and listening to your own intuition, and like you all said, being that example so other people can also continue that legacy is very, it's just, y'all are doing it. We're out here. And I think that that's the real thing. It's like being the example and not just talking about it. The last question that I have for you all is just any last thoughts that might be on your mind, especially thinking about other Black men, you know, thinking about yourself 10, 15 years ago. If you could speak to other people who might have their own vision, dream, idea of owning their own and finding their own sense of freedom in that, please share, you know, one more gem for us all of advice or just insight or anything that you have for anyone else out there who might be interested in doing their own thing.
My thing would be just like fear, you know, fear is natural. It's a natural instinct, right? And as you feel it, a lot of times in business, you're on to something, you know? And so a lot of times fear means stop, but in business, if you feel superior, it's probably time to go for it and go ahead and go hard, right? Because a lot of people seem to be scared, scared to invest in themselves. They may even have an idea, but they don't want to invest in themselves, in their idea. They don't believe in it to where they're going to put monies into it and say, I really do this. So, because they're scared, and so just don't be scared. Don't be scared. When you start feeling scared, that's when it's time to get going, Go ahead and go for it, Check up.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Using that fear to fuel you forward, right?
Yeah. Motivation,
Yeah.
So I would say I'm coming off of like a 20-hour workday. So, and then right after that, I woke up just to go back to the shop to make sure the cleaners were doing their job. Because we're just getting in, trying to make everything right. So it's like, for me, it's like dedication, and it's like you have to be able to put in those hours for yourself. Because what they used to say was, oh, you're going to work? Man, those same hours you're going to work, when you get off, you got to put those same hours into something that you want to do. Right. And I'm looking at these people like, and when you going to sleep? And I get it, and they're right, but, you really have to kind of, put a lot of eggs in your basket, really, really fight for it, and not sleep for your shit. Right. You know what I mean? Like, this is mine, and I'm not going to sleep so that tomorrow I can get some sleep, or in the next few days, but I'm going to create something that I can sit back and be happy with, and content with. And I encourage everybody to think like what they can do to better the society, and form groups, get together with friends, get some talk groups together. A lot of things, get mentors, Sometimes you need somebody to kind of give you a good advice. That's somebody who you inspire to be, And so I just inspire people to aspire and inspire. So yeah, keep up the good work.
I dig it. I love it. I'm thinking about now one of the yogic principles, and just thinking about how this all connects, of ahimsa, nonviolence, and just how the affirmative of nonviolence is, for me at least, is showing care, showing compassion, being connected as opposed to separate. And I think that both of your businesses are great examples of that essence, to come together, of community, and how we can serve our community with their best interests at heart. And I think that that's part of the same essence and spirit that the people and business owners of Black Wall Street really showed out for us as well. And it's just an honor to have shared space and conversation with you two in this context. There's so many parallels that we can draw just from Tulsa to Los Angeles, but we know that this is just representative of so many places in this country. And so I just hope that lots of people out here got some sense of inspiration, insight, and something positive resonates with you for whatever it is that you might be focused on for yourself. I want to also, again, just say thank you for celebrating the legacy of Black Wall Street and honoring that legacy, and honoring, Tulsa today and all of the economic success, entrepreneurial spirits of today. So with that, again, thank you to Hassan Burdex of the Greenwood Cure in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Thank you to Wose Afi Shabaka of Baba's Vegan Cafe here in Los Angeles, California. It's been a pleasure. Again, I'm Jana with the Tree Yoga Co-op. And that's the end of Black Liberation Week, friends.
All right. Nice talking with you, Hassan.
Nice talking.
Yes.
Good work, y'all.
Yes. In
And when I
solidarity.
come out, I'll be out to LA. I'm gonna come check him out and see what that vegan.
Right.